Hi, Obida.
Hi, Sunshine.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
Thank you for joining me on this chit chat because I know that it was not very easy getting you here.
Only because I'm shy.
I know it's okay. For those who don't know, Obida and I work together. I am the manager at ODA Art Gallery, but this right here is the founder and the director of the entire machine. Not only that, he's also an interior designer extraordinaire and a fashion icon. So if you haven't seen his repertoire, I would suggest that you go ahead and follow him on Instagram, take a look at all the businesses because he's great. But I'm really excited about the conversation today because I would also benefit from it very heavily. Not only that, I think a lot of people that are entry-level collectors, people who are looking to invest in arts, just everything in general, building a collection, this will be something that you need to listen to. So today we're speaking about the art of collecting, but specifically the tips on building a very robust art collection for you, right? So I'll start off by saying that in the last conversation, we mentioned how as a continent and even domestically, we are starting from a very, very disadvantaged starting point in that we're trying to chase after a market or the Western market that's already well developed and still growing, right? So the African market is, yes, evolving, but we haven't evolved as far as them. So we're picking up a lot of the business practices that the Western market has and adopting it here. But sometimes we're not even using it the way that is good for our own market, if that makes sense. And I want to kind of get your perspective on how you feel we should, conduct certain practices as different stakeholders in this market. So I think you have a very sharp eye when it comes to anything creative, right? So I want to start off by asking you rather, how did you, or when was the time or the first time you knew that art was something you couldn't ignore anymore? And this is from your experience in being an interior designer, being someone in fashion, and then going into the arts.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. Okay. So it is true that I started off with interior design, and I think interior design is an art in itself. You have this, oftentimes the way we do interior design for clients, we are given a blank canvas, and literally we get in and we take it from scratch to finish, and that would involve everything from the walls to the floors, to the sort of lighting, to the color of the doors. Is it wood? Is it steel? There's so many things that you're selecting and putting together. And in a way, it's like a canvas. You're picking colors and textures, and so it's very similar to that. And for a very long time, I was only focused on that because I thought that was my art. When you ask me when I realized that I couldn't ignore it anymore, was when I finished a home for a client of mine, and then he actually asked me to please go out and source art for his home. And before that, I just thought art was personal. I thought I approached art in the sense of you collect let's collect isn't too far. You purchase some art because you connect to it. It is a personal thing. But here, this client was asking me to select art to improve the ambience of his space. Now, the one thing I did do, and he kept on asking me, but I ensured that he came along with me on the journey. And he kept on saying, no, pick it for me. I was like, no. We'll do it together. I'll go with you. I'll guide you. I'm going to take you to where to go. But ultimately, you will select what speaks to you the most. And it's interesting because that now went two ways. Because what I now wanted him to select wasn't always what he selected. It now became what he connected to and what spoke to him. But in the end, of course, it went wonderfully well. But then I think that's when I realized that, yes, art has more than one function. It's not just personal. Mm-hmm. It's also healing, mm-hmm. But it also does improve whatever design I've done. I've seen that. In fact, two things I've seen that have improved any interior design I've done: art and plants. They both have an incredible energy that they bring to a space. And I think that was sort of the first sort of like instance where I had approached art from a service provision kind of way. Mm-hmm. Yes, so that he had asked me to do this, and so I was like, okay, to do it for others. And then, and then again, I had a very good friend of mine who lives in Abuja, and I take him to a couple of galleries, and similar thing of, oh, I'll take you to this gallery and in a very casual way, not even in a way to even sort of earn funny, but just like, let's go here, here, and here. I remember at that time, Chika Edu swimmers was something that I was very obsessed with, and I took them to where I'd gotten mine, and they got some as well, and just like selected, even helping them to frame. It was after that trip that I was like, wait, this can actually be, this can actually be something that you do full time. And then I think after that, then I always say to you that then a couple of the artists, Alimi specifically, and in a quieter way, as I come up by, were like, try this thing, because what would happen was that I was buying art for myself, and I'd, as usual, just take photographs of it, put it on Instagram, and not think of it. But they would tell me that when you put a photograph of the art on the wall, one, we like the way you've placed it, but two, people now contact us for that same piece. Why don't you just sort of like move ahead? And then it now became serious when Alim said, you know what, we'll do a salon for you. I'll do a salon for you. See how that fares.
So at that time, you were, so sorry I interrupted you. At that time, you were pretty much dealing. So you became pretty much an art dealer in that respect.
Yes. So started off with dealing and then had the salon.
Okay.
And it was doing very well. In fact, I really liked the way that I started art. I started art from my home. And what would happen was that I would do the pick pieces from different artists. I would completely sort of like recreate the house. And then only Saturdays, the house was open for people to come and see art and view art. And it was actually very nice, because there is one thing to say about art and its position in a home or in a space. It's not just art alone, it's everything. I believe very much in the 360 of nice art, nice company, nice environment, kindness, music, it's all together. And I think for a lot of people, I feel like we in the industry take it for granted, but I think a wide cube gallery can be quite daunting to any collector or to whatever. But to present it that way in the home, it just softens it, makes it more, it puts it in context. And, it was a really enjoyable experience for both even for myself, hosting people, because you get to share, I got to share interior design and art with them. And I think for me, I've always told you, the motto of ODA has always been to share beauty. And that went on for about a year. And I always say to you that we actually said it earlier than when the gallery opened in its space now, because that went on for about a year, but we very, very quickly outgrew the space. I think more than that as well, Saturdays only couldn't work for everybody. And, so that's when we now started the gallery. And for sure, by that time,
Okay. I mean, I like the fact that you said art itself is kind of all-encompassing. You're putting it in a space and it transforms it in such a way that you can find different levels of connecting, right? And so it takes away from the fact that you look at art as just something that you purchase and that's what it is. It's just one little mode of, I just have it, I'm going to put it in my store and that's the end of it. So we're looking now towards the investment side of this conversation, right? Because it's like, there's a perception, right? I have friends who speak about, or who see what I do and they think, okay, she's just going to put works on the wall. Someone's going to buy it at an extortionate amount of money and they're going to, put it on their walls for a little bit and then put it in a store, right? There's a transactional aspect of collecting, or the idea of collecting works, or being a gallerist or owning a gallery, right? And this is from an outside perspective. I'm looking to, like you said, soften that idea, or kind of give more context to that idea. So for you have been helping people, but you've also been a collector yourself. And I don't know if I can name a few people that you collected over time. I mean, you have a Tolawewe, you have a Victor, you have an Alimi. You now have even more contemporary artists, Mobalaji Ogorse, you have Fidelis Joseph, you have some fantastic pieces in your collection. And I think over time you've evolved, right? Okay. But the perspective of investing in work has always somewhat stayed the same in this Nigerian context. And I want to find out, what is your perception of that first? And how do you think people should really think of the context of investing?
A lot of galleries will always say to you this. The first thing they will say is, don't buy something you don't love. And the reason why they say this is this. Two things. First thing is that obviously no one knows how the market goes. So at least get something that you're happy to, that's pleasing to see. But for me, why I say that is this. I think you can lose a lot of the value of art if you approach it solely as an investment vehicle. Why I say that is this. You mentioned earlier that people have this thing where they maybe perhaps purchase a piece of art, they put it on the wall for a little while, and they put it back in, put it into a store. For me, that speaks of an art piece that was never really loved.
Yeah.
You know, I always say to you that there's some pieces that I have that I take down because yes, I have quite a bit of art now that can't all fit in my home. So I love to rotate. But I have found that there's some pieces that no matter how much I try and take them down and put them away so that something else can take that place, within 2 weeks it comes back on display. So that shows that piece, or there's some pieces that even mean more to me than others. So that's it on what's called now. We'll talk about it now purely as an investment vehicle. I think the way to approach art as an investment is to look at it as a portfolio. You have high performers, you have the stable ones, and then you have the ones that possibly that you do just because you love.
Yep.
Let's do it that way. So you have a bit of your heart, you have a bit of the sort of the ones that actually can go either with the riskier ones, so, and then you have the stable investment, and that's a good way to sort of approach it. More than likely, if you're looking for art that will appreciate steeply in value, then that tends to be a younger artist that is still not very well known, but perhaps has worked with a certain curator that you know always sort of delivers. Or when you speak, I think when you speak to an artist, you can tell sometimes because of how disciplined they are. I'm like, okay, and you know, then of course the quality of the work. Quality of the work is very important. And when I say that, well, I don't just mean in terms of creativity, but finishing. An artist that finishes a work well, you can bank on the fact that that's a seriousness in their approach. They also take that career. Those are things you look out for. You have to be careful with trends, especially when you are entering, where your entry point to the trend is. I don't know, well, as some of us in the industry are aware, over the last about 3 years, Black portraiture has been very, very popular, extremely popular, and everyone's doing a lot of, especially the younger artists, were doing a take on it. And it appears now very quickly to be fading away. But the swiftness at which the market is now moving away from it is quite startling. I mean, even right up to last year, it was still hot. And then this year, it's just something that which is not to say, look, portraiture and figurative art will always be a cornerstone of that. I mean, from time, artists have always drawn faces and people, so that's fine. But then we will now come back to technique as opposed to just a gimmick. And for a long time, the blackface was a sort of like gimmick of, I'll just do a black person, but why? And okay, if you can tell me why, is your technique of capturing the nuances, the texture, where is the light falling on the face? Can you control your mastery, or have you just done? And oftentimes it did happen that you've just done a copy of a face that you've seen on Instagram or whatever. And so that's why again we now talk about quality of art. I bought some black portraiture, but even the ones that I bought, I'm very happy to have still displayed them, because I remember I bought Okoyemi, who is an incredible artist in terms of what he can do with expression and light and composition. His composition too can be very good. I remember the first piece I got from him was this old woman who he caught sort of like looking away. There's a sort of sadness, but there's such a poignancy in her expression that you will connect to. So to round it up, what I'm trying to say is this: don't buy art because it's a trendy thing, even if there is, still always look at the quality of the art. And I think another thing we need to discuss again is this idea of, I want to put this in the right way, of buying art directly from artists. It has its It has its benefits for sure. And I'm not speaking to you now as a gallery saying buy from galleries but there is a function. You spoke earlier about how in the Western world there are more formalized structures that we can ignore here. I have gotten some wonderful pieces straight from artists. I'm not saying artist studio is not a way to go, but there is something about when an artist creates a body of work for a show.
Yes.
He or she has to put out better work because it is on view to the world. There's a record of it. So just by its very nature, they're going to bring a better game to it. Second thing is this: with a gallery who's also hopefully working with a curator as well, there is a feedback between the artist and the curator that also helps to elevate the work. In terms of even in a quiet note of, oh, this direction you're going, go in more. Oh, this one, I don't think you fully gotten your message across, so that by the time you're buying from a show, it's like some quality checks have been done for you. The other thing is this: when we talk about investing in art, be very careful to just buy a name. Buy an exceptional piece, don't buy a name. That's a whole different conversation.
That's a completely different conversation.
But it's something to also be aware of.
You did speak of the three structures. You said art when you are the risky investment, the investment that is sure, right? And then just the entry level, which we call it. So the name is a sure thing to some degree. Yes or no?
It's a difficult question. It's a difficult question because it then speaks to when you speak of art as an investment, that means that you're also looking at how you may want to exit at some point. Okay. So when it's now time to exit, you're not talking about the quality of what you want to you want to exit, so you want to sell this piece of work. Okay. So you might do this through an auction, you might do this through a sale between you and another party, or you might even have a gallery purchase the work of you. Now let's say it's an auction. There may be a lot of different works at the auction, including the one you bought. Even maybe different works by the same artist. If the work isn't excellent, it's not going to sell first. So that's why I say that you can't just buy a name. You must also seek to pick an exceptional piece by the artist.
This is true. Okay, now let's just kind of switch points of conversation.
Okay.
I'm a new collector, right? I have minimal knowledge on the industry, and I'm trying to see the best avenues for me to look to purchase anything. Now, what I know is Google best works to purchase best artist, African artists. It will be the top artists that will pop up. I cannot invest in that. I can't even think about buying their works because of course it's too expensive. Now I'm going to go to the nearest gallery or the nearest person that I know that is an artist or an art person. That is the first thing I will do. Now, do I have to purchase from a gallery first? Do I look to speak to the gallerist and advise? Who am I talking to? How am I getting into it first? As a new collector, I don't know where to begin.
Okay, no problem. First thing is this: there's nothing you start off as a newbie that you get right the first time. Maybe you do, maybe out of luck you do, but I think you must, with anything in life, you can't want to get into something wanting to be excellent right from the start.
Sure.
You have to be willing to get into something with an open heart, with an open mind, willing to learn. Well, two, when I started, the first actual pieces I ever collected were photography by logo. It was a lower price point, and which is funny because now logo is shooting more. But I saw the images and I loved them. But I did not look at it from a point. And also, be careful. I did be careful with approaching art at the first place from this is the investment. First, try and understand it, perhaps love it, and then now start to see its other utility. Well, so anyway, so I started off with logo. Photography was a lower price point. 2 years, I completely agree with you. When you start, obviously, you don't want to start with the highest what's it called. In fact, even more so, when you start with your heart. And don't be too scared to make a mistake. Now, what you can do is maybe put limits, put a budget, put limits, and then yes. Now, in terms of gallery, could you maybe start off with a gallery? I think the fairs that they're like the affordable art fair, the things like that go on that really actually allow you to sort of like see a lot of art that's not still very high price and start to get you comfortable. Also, perhaps don't start with buy. Perhaps start with going to like ArtX. But more than that, so another way that I got into art was going to people's homes and seeing what they liked. I always say that that's how I found Alini. I kept on going. I didn't go for that purpose, but like, no, let me say this properly. Open your eyes. Look around you. When you go to people's homes, I'm not saying look, just always take, and just as a human being, taking beauty.
Yeah.
Take stock. Oh, what I see art on your walls, or I see, tell me about this. Okay. Ask questions. That's actually a very good way.
Sometimes there's really like a gateway into giving yourself a bit of knowledge of what's going on. But then again, that's one side of it. Now I'm looking to individuals who are looking to enter into secondary market sales. And I'm really jumping now because there are some questions that I have been asked to kind of pop into this conversation. I have a friend who reached out and she had older pieces by an artist that were bought 7 to 10 years ago. Okay. She has no idea. She has no idea at the point of sale, but the artist's work, it's the artist's work for sure. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have any sort of COA, certificate of authenticity, no sort of registration of the gallery that it was bought, nothing of that sort, mm-hmm. but the works are authentic. Now, as in giving me, she's asked, okay, I want you to sell it for the price that it's marked on Artsy. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, now, firstly, yes, I work in a gallery, but I now have to put on these different hats of the advisor, the researcher, the appraiser, all these different things. And I have to go through the process of looking at the last points of sale, looking at the auction sales of the artist, all these different structures. But the person doesn't understand this. They just think Artsy will tell me how much it costs, and they can undersell or oversell the works. So for someone who has works that are in their home, that are just sitting around, that they have no information about, but they want to get a quick sale, what's your advice to them?
So again, we now talk about the rules that galleries can have. For instance, at ODA, if you buy a piece of work from us, we guarantee you that we'll either buy it at least at that price, mm-hmm. or possibly even higher, mm-hmm. because we believe in what we're selling. Mm-hmm. So like you mentioned, I don't know if she's the one that purchased the art, but being the person who purchased, you should be able to go back to the gallery where you, and we could draw as a guarantee for people who collect from us. Outside of that, you have now highlighted a big blind spot that people don't talk about. You are a collector, you're buying art, but you oftentimes can't sell that art yourself. It's always interesting when people they come and like, oh, I'm buying this art because I'm like, okay, nice for you. But this value, this perceived value, is only realized by the exit, by its sale. Now, to sell it, can you, the person, sell it? So we now go back again to this idea of, did you do a studio sale or did you buy from a gallery? And I think a gallery does for you, again, it provides a point of reference for value, for provenance, for authenticity as well. That's another thing that it does for you. Even then, if you're doing a secondary sale, like a sale to the secondary market, you still have that original invoice. Yes. Or certificate or debit alert or whatever that just says that I bought it from this gallery, that already helps to determine, at least capture a value at a certain point. Yes. For that. So that helps that. Outside of that, you could try reaching out to the artists themselves to get you a certificate of authenticity. That helps. That's very good because that would help with the sale. But a gallerist or a dealer is probably your best point. But I want to say something again. I want to come back to that thing I said earlier. But if you pick an exceptional piece, I'm not saying I have good taste, but there's some artworks I have by an artist where I have different work by an artist, but there's some of them that people are always offering me, literally wanting to buy it from me. And it's a case of like, whatever the day you say you're ready,
they will just purchase.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's not even based on the name per se. It's not because they're like, oh, I want this name. It's
Just
that
also the
work.
okay. So there's importance to the type of work you collect in general. So just making sure that what you pick, what you select is strong to you or something that you can connect with. So that if somebody else is, in fact, it even makes it easier to sell.
It makes it very
Because if you can connect to the work, in fact, you even want to hold on to it so tightly that somebody
people
else
can tell.
Exactly. Because if you say, okay, yeah, sure, you can buy it, it's almost like, okay, is it not a value? Do you not care for the piece that you have with you?
Because true to fun, actually, the pieces that they've all liked, and often a lot of people ask me to buy it. Each time I literally no, like the no is so firm and so like it's not even an act. It's just a no. Now, so maybe now what you may want to ask me is how do you pick exceptional pieces?
Exactly. That look at us spending time.
The way to pick an exceptional piece is this. If you don't have a trained eye or whatever, buy early from the show. Form a relationship with a gallerist or different gallerists. When they want to have a show, ask that they show you be the first off the block to pick the pieces.
Okay.
Like a car or like a watch or like a home, it's not expected that you always have all the money up front. Sure. A good thing again with a good relationship with the gallerist, and it's a two-way street where the gallerist also knows that you love the art. You can set up a payment plan, especially if you've done it before and it went well and you were disciplined about it. It's unlikely because it is true that exceptional pieces. Actually, no, it's not that they have to be expensive. That's a lie. But when you want that top of shelf, there is a likelihood that you will not have all the cash at that point. So a payment plan, and you'll be surprised. Artists and gallerists are open to it when they know that you genuinely want it for yourself and are not just looking to flip it. And even for you as well, if you get an exceptional piece, you won't want to flip it.
You won't, not at all. In fact, you'll be the first to hang it on.
And there is that thing again of like less is more. Don't do this thing of like that's why I said again, don't do the names thing. Like, I must have it this, and I must have it this, I must have it this.
But you do have a list of people that you wish to collect that you like. And in that list could potentially be people that are of a certain caliber, right? Because it is always true. You have a wish list of people that you want to collect.
Yes. So, but I do have a wish list, but my wish list is also based on like desire of your technique there's a language you have that I really admire, but that said, okay, exactly, to answer your question, yes, as much as I have a wish list, like for instance, that I'm very keen to purchase a Benosaga. I've been offered at least 4 or 5 different ones at different, in fact, one at a very, very attractive price point. In fact, another one where they asked me that, actually, you know what, I'll give you this and you can give me one of your pieces. And as much as I have said no, and this is 3 years going, I still have not found
the one,
and I'm waiting it out.
That's very.
So it's not just I could have collected the name since, but it's also that
you're keeping it for just the rest of your life, at least for a long period of time. So at least if you're investing in it, it should be something that you can hang on your wall and feel comfortable with. Now I want to ask about due diligence that one should do with the collection that they have. So you have a fantastic collection. There's a fire. You lose everything. Wow. What have you done to make sure that there is some sort of insurance on the works that you have? I mean, that's extreme, but just in terms of documenting what you have, what have you done so far? And what should people do?
Okay. First of all, it is important to have insurance. And it's something that can be a little bit, I don't know what to use, is tedious or whatever, but it is important to first of all ensure your collection. But then also, again, you speak about structure. We're also in a very gray area here whereby I think because internationally the markets are more, I don't want to use the word regulated or structured, but the valuation is more sort of secure, so that I'm here now and I said to you that, okay, I bought a Duke 3 years ago at, 3 million naira, but actually I think that the value now should be, $12,000. Okay. Why am I saying that? Because I know now that the galleries are selling it for $12,000, but I bought it maybe 3 or 4 years ago. The insurance companies here, I don't know how that conversation is going to go. it's something that I haven't had to test out, but I don't know. I know that there's companies like Tangerine that are doing specific like sort of art insurance. So here's what I think. Here's what I think you should do. I think you have to. I think I'm not saying this is what I'm not going to say that I've done this properly. I think you should catalog your collection, even in the most like casual way of take it. So what I do is I have a folder in my photo album in my phone where I just call it my art. Where at the very least I've taken a snapshot of that art piece and it's in that folder.
Okay.
I think one can go further and open an Excel sheet whereby you have the date of purchase of the art, possibly even where you bought it for. At least are just tabs: date of purchase, location where bought from the artist or the gallery, hopefully an image or title of, but either one, but you need an image for sure.
Yeah.
Title of the work. Try please to put the dimension as well and the medium. Then how much did you buy it that day?
Yes.
In Naira or whichever currency. If you buy it in Naira, exchange the value of dollar at that day. So you immediately put it in, dollarize it, and then hold it. So just do that one every time you buy a piece of work. If you can go a step further and once a year, at the end of the year, maybe when you're doing whatever it is you do, how you do financially, go and now review that list, and between maybe you can call to a gallery, artsy or whatever, just find out how much value of similar work from that artist is now, and maybe just note it. It's not necessarily means that that's the value of yours, but at least just a note of what to call. So what can help you is this. What I'm doing right now that I'm helping with this. I am putting like a overall valuation of all the art that I own. So like, this year this is the value. So that next year I will see how it has grown. But once you see how it's grown, it will force me to like revalue, and even in a very to see that the valuation is, because maybe, or give yourself a target. I want my art collection to reach this sort of value, and that will come obviously from the number of pieces, but also by the growth of the value of the pieces you have. That's another way to help you to like
align it. Of course. And there are other different, I guess, databases that you can use that allow for you to structure your work. And it's always good to start when you start collecting. When you have maybe 10 pieces, 5 pieces, 2 pieces, don't wait until you're at 150 and you're tired and you don't want to do it again. So let's
talking to
be.
me.
I'm talking to him. But anyway, I now want to talk about the individual who wants to sell their work for investment, and they can, because I guess if they buy a piece and they are, short on cash and they want to find an opportunity to put it out there.
Or even aside from another trick again, you should always note. I do this, by the way. I sometimes sell work to buy other works. In fact, if I ever sell any of my work, I also make sure I buy something else. So even if it's to get cash out, I will always at least take a proceed and invest in something else as well.
Good way to do it.
Yes.
But then I now want to think of the outlets in which one can sell their work.
Okay.
What would you say is the best possible way to do this? Would you say it's, secondary market sales, personal sales through other collectors, or would you say putting it through auctions, which is a completely different conversation? But I guess for you, what do you think is the best way to do it?
Well, first of all, to sell work, it has to have been seen.
Yeah.
So I think first of all, one of the best ways to sell work is also to have had it displayed and featured in your home, in your space. Number one. And so you garner interest. You already kind of had an idea who likes your work. So the first point of call will be like, there's a different man that always like this work or whatever. That's number one. Two, there are dealers, galleries and dealers who actually specialize in selling works on behalf of. I know I have been approached before by a friend who needed to raise money, and she asked me to sell one of her works, and I got it and I did it. So yes, some gallerists and some dealers can also. I think that's actually probably your best route because it was quick.
Oh, wow.
Like in terms of speed, yes, I think maybe within 2 days, maybe less. I had done.
Oh wow!
Yes, I had sold it and given her cash.
Then you also get a commission.
Yes, you earn from that as well. Yes, but yes, so I think art dealers can be a quick way, even sometimes quicker than a gallery or at least approach, like, so the way you say your friend has approached you, yes, because sometimes even with the gallery, it being put back on the walls to wait for can also still be timely, but an art dealer can be what's it called?
Much quicker.
Yeah. Do you want to discuss auctions?
Yes, because I think, of course, people think I'm going to get the work, especially the more riskier sales. I'm going to take the work and pop it into a Sotheby's or a Christie's. All of a sudden, the problem with some things, with investments through auction houses, is the riskiness of doing that in general, especially African art, because auctions are placed in different categories. You don't have African art auction sales very often. So when you do, the names firstly are relatively similar because you don't have new artists putting their work in just because you don't want to undersell, oversell. But let's say you put a big person's name in there and something happens. We don't know to what degree that would be, but what are the dangers of doing something like that with a collection, a piece that you have in your collection? Oops.
I mean, there's a reserve price, no?
Yes.
So at the very least, if you've agreed to the reserve price, you already know that it will sell for less than this price. So that's number one. And you've agreed, as in like you've agreed.
You've agreed, yes.
So, no, okay, so I think there's two things we talked about here. You're talking about the now I'm going to call them, not in collector, the investor who's looking to sort of, not just flip, but to like, what's it called? That's why I say that, let's talk about it, because I think the reserve price, yes, while below market, is if it is that you were looking for an exit, and let's say it's a piece you bought, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, most certainly the reserve price would be higher than what you want to call. But now we're talking about if you want to make that like, abnormal profit. Auctions, why auctions are dangerous is that auctions are also a big factor of the state of the global economy and the art market at the same time. They are not just about the name or quality of the work anymore. There are other things. There are other things, including that. I know, like in the last 2 years ago or 3 years ago, auctions were doing extremely well because people were looking for where to park money. Stocks in things like airlines and everything were just the only yes. So the only place you could park money was, I think, gold and art were one of the what's it called. That is, and so you saw some record numbers like 100 and something millions for Warhols. They were not just about the art; they were about something larger than the art that is not within your control.
Yep, sure.
It is not within your control. So then we now maybe start talking about maybe art advisors in terms of like when is the best time to bring my work out. I think maybe what we didn't talk about earlier was we spoke about it, but we didn't go into about what a balanced portfolio means. For a Nigerian context, I would say that you have to have a big basket of your established artists, of your emerging artists, and your mid-career artists. By having that, at any one time, you can know who to bring out. That's maybe that's another that will help you to know who to bring out.
That's interesting. Okay. Oh no, I haven't asked that question. That's very.
You can ask.
No, it's about your own collection. I'll be like, what will you bring out if you? That's not good.
You can ask me.
So
you can ask me.
Okay, let's look at your collection.
Okay.
Let's say you were cash-strapped and you needed to bring someone else. All right,
the fastest.
A short sale.
Within less than 6 hours.
My God.
Olaku is the most liquid living artist.
But you also have to mention that I may have an Olaku and have no idea of anything in the art market, and I want to sell it to a friend.
Olaku.
Okay. Do you hear that? Olaku is the one to sell.
Olaku is the most liquid.
Wow. Oh, goodness. Okay, fair enough. Okay, now rounding off this entire conversation. The Nigerian art market, West African art market is, again, as you said, booming. A lot of people are still looking to it. And there are different facets of it now. I think it's shifting towards more abstract expressionist, abstract works by African artists. That's how the market is moving, right? So how do you foresee the future of the Nigerian art market in terms of its growth and trends? I mean, we're moving so rapidly between different types of work, different, I guess, mediums now, and compositional interests by everyone and anyone. What do you think, what do you see it moving towards in the next 10 years, for example?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think the modern artist, the modernist artist, I think that there's a lot of emphasis right now on younger artists, younger African artists. I think that's the interest that the Western gaze has decided to approach the market.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even if you look at again with the popularity of the black face the last couple of years, who were the artists behind it? It was young artists. It was what are the young what can they produce? I don't know, but essentially there has been a big focus right now on younger art. As in when people are approaching African art, it's from a younger artist point of view. I do think that the more the established artists have techniques and training and unique language. So what I mean is by that is that the blackface thing, you saw it from different young artists doing the same thing. But I think with a lot of the older artists, their practice is more established, their way is more established, and therefore you're able to say, I want a dupe because this style, it is his, nobody. You know, like if I collect this, no, but I'm not I won't see it in another place.
And it's not even easy to replicate.
Yes, then you now go further and realize that Mr. Duke has been practicing for 40 years. He got a first in Auchi. You know, like then you now start to sort of like, okay, let's look at your CV, let's look at, you know, your time in the industry, let's look at your creativity, your, you know, and so I do think that like with anything, when people first approach something new, there's a frenzy that is often towards the flashiest, and that's where the younger.
Yes.
But I think in time they will now start asking, where are your masters? Where are the guys that came before you? Let's, you know, and then you're going to uncover some incredible gems. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I hear you. But then now, what would you say to younger artists who are now moving and evolving in a beautiful way in their own rights? If the market moves towards the modernists, what happens to them?
Look, okay, beautiful. Hey, again, I'm happy you asked that question. There has been a sort of quantico, like a kind of, I don't know what to use is in our market, a distortion.
Okay.
Whereby younger artists are priced higher than older artists in the African. That is so strange. Especially in the Nigerian market, younger artists are selling works at higher than. That's normally the way it works with the art industry is that younger artists give you a entry point in their works. I'm saying because the quality of the work is less. No, but that's the idea of that. You don't have the number of shows, the number of museum, you know, like, and so therefore your work is valued based on the milestones you have. I think if younger artists can be careful to ensure that other parties do not inflate the price, and I'm not talking, I say value. I'm not saying that I'm not saying your value is not that, you know, but I'm just saying the price today. There is a price today. Don't worry, tomorrow you get to the next price. The next year you get to the. But if you, as a young artist, you start high, but once you are priced well, there's no look. If you're priced well, I'm going to be in 10 years. I want a work by a modernist artist. And rightly so, the work is maybe, I don't know, $100,000. I don't have $100,000, but I want to get on the art game. I will seek you out because you will not be higher than 100,000. Yes, you will always have a market if your pricing is right.
True, because in 10 years, an artist that is priced at 8,000, having done a few exhibitions here and there, is going to have to be at a 30,000 in 10 years, or probably even more.
You will grow.
And that
as long as again you're working, you are your own worst critic in that. You do not let so I said to you about Olaku earlier. Let me tell you another reason why Olaku will never allow a piece of painting to leave his studio that he is not satisfied with.
This is very true.
He just will not. And that is how his brand has been
continued to live.
You have to have that discipline. Do not allow, ensure that the quality of your work is excellent. Finished well, presented well, and everything else will work in your favor once the work is good.
Wow. So, second to last question. Beyond financial returns, what other positive impacts can art investment have on the local art community? So in terms of cultural preservation, how can it benefit putting money back into this, I guess, the art ecosystem here?
As in the benefit of the benefit of you purchasing art and collecting art. I think that the Nigerian government needs to quickly realize that oil is not our greatest export. Culture is where we will stand out. That is, Nigerians have an incredible talent for culture. And you see everything from music to film to fashion to... we get it. Like, I can't explain it, but we get it. That is arguably our greatest export. And I think that investing in art is investing in Nigeria. Like a lot of places that we are going to as Nigerians now, where the perception is finally changing. Do you know what is causing that change in perception? Is that they have tasted our culture and they enjoy it, and therefore they're willing to overlook what they heard before about 419 and like corruption and what's it called. They're now talk, oh my God, you're from Nigeria. I love this. And the thing they tend to love is our music, our culture, our fashion. So I think investing in art is investing in our PR, is investing in our image. It's turning around those years.
Yeah, of course. I agree. And I agree that the government needs to spotlight so much of these different things. I mean, as we go abroad, there's no following the different achievements that each person has had abroad. I mean, we have Rema winning, was it an Emmy or not an Emmy? That's a lie. A Grammy. It wasn't a Grammy or something else.
No, MTV Award.
MTV, yes. He won the best Afro. I mean, they even created a full category for African artists. We have not made any acknowledgement here of that success. And even down to artists who are making moves in the European market. I mean, the gallery, who went to Asia recently, Retro Africa was at Art Basel, Hong Kong. I mean, different things that are going on, but the government still does not acknowledge the many things that we're doing outside of the country. That being said, I now have one more question to ask you, which I've asked everybody. If you could, you had to run away, abscond, leave the country, and you had one piece that you needed to collect from your collection and run away, what would it be? You have to think financially. You have to think in terms of what you like, or what can be a quick carrier.
My Bible.
Stop it. Your what?
My Bible.
Come on, preach it, Jesus. Yes. Oh, wow. Okay. Dang. I said artwork, but okay.
It's a piece of art. It's a work of art.
Oh, I love it. Wow. That touches my heart. It really does. Guys, can you see we have a great Christian man here? Okay. Well, that's it for now. Thank you, Obida, for joining us on this conversation. I know that a lot of people will be excited to hear your opinions of art collecting and the tips that you've given. Very insightful.
Thank you for having me.